Hello and welcome to Walpole United WFC. Hello and welcome to Walpole United with me, John Foster, MUFC. I've been waiting to do this show with Emma and Rodney for quite some time. I've been waiting to get you guys on together, and I know we've got a bit of banter between each other. And obviously, Rodney can shout out his podcast towards the end of the show. But
oh no, I don't have one.
Oh, well, I do enjoy watching it.
I'm joking.
And that's where I'll get to watch you guys and see how you interact with each other. And it's great to have you both on today talking about Man United and Man City. So we'll talk about that. Conner, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, well, been better after recent results, but yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Emma, on the other hand, I'm sure you're okay after recent results.
Yeah, I'm really good. I just wish I wasn't full of a cold. It sounded horrendous, but yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. For anyone who doesn't know who Emma is, do you run the Man City Women's Fancast? Is that the right way? Is that the right terminology?
Yeah, that'll do. It's a podcast about Man City women, but yeah,
it's the only podcast worth listening to for rival. If you want to listen to rival fans, at least. So definitely, Rodney, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Awesome. Excellent. Okay, so we'll get into it then. We'll touch on our season so far. We'll talk about the result and the game that we saw on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit about the FA Cup that's coming up, and maybe just our expectations and just being honest, really, about where we think we are as a team. Because I must admit, going into Sunday, Emma, I thought that we was really hot on your heels and to almost overtake you a little bit. Not on history, not on anything like that, but like definitely, kind of showing that we are top three material. It didn't work out that way, but at any point, Emma, were you kind of worried that Manchester was turning a little bit red going into that game?
Do you know, if I'm honest with you, I think the general consensus going into the game and the feeling amongst the fans was we were a bit worried, to be honest. Obviously, with recent form and one thing and another, you obviously had a little bit of an upper hand going into this one. I think the only thing that favoured us at the moment is in the moment that we were obviously playing at home, and we've got some good home form, and not recently, but usually we play quite well at home. So I kind of do feel like we were an underdog, if you like. There was sort of more on us to get the result, and I think there was a bit of pressure there. I think the way the team rose to the challenge was impressive, and I was expecting a bit more of a clash, if you like, and it didn't really play out as such. I kind of expected a bit more feistiness, a little bit more from United, but they didn't really offer that much. And inevitably, we were able to sort of play out the way we play, the City way, and it was pretty much like that from start to finish. And I think the goal was just deserved in the end. I think had we not got the goal, I think it would have been quite a disappointing result. But yeah, for a derby, it was a good game, but I expected just that little bit more from United.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm sure Conner would as well. But just before we go on to kind of like the Man United side of looking at things, do you think that the team actually responded to that then, Emma, like being potential underdogs and knowing that they kind of had to get a positive result to maybe make that top three? Do you think, because they're not used to fighting like with their like backs up against the wall in regards to the WSL, are they?
No, not at all. I think obviously the difference having more of a side, for Gareth to pick from, more options in terms of, looking to the bench, which is obviously, what happened, paid dividends in the end, obviously bringing on Caroline Weir, a bit of an impact sub, and having that moment of magic, because it inevitably was going to take something special in the end, and thankfully we were able to produce that in the end. But I mean, we've had we've had it tough with obviously the injuries and things like that. But, coming into the new year, things have been going in our favour a little bit in terms of, getting players back and having those sort of options for Gareth Taylor. And it was a really pleasing result and a pleasing win, and things are starting to come together, and we're starting to see the fruition of that sort of in the games that we're playing and the results that we're getting to.
Yeah, Conor, do you want to just jump in there and obviously say from a Man United side of things?
Yeah, it's a weird game to analyse from a United point of view, because I think we all went there expecting us to play what we've seen in the last few months, and for some reason I've been trying to wrap my head around why. I can kind of maybe articulate why, but we sat off, and that was clearly the game plan, to sit off. And I think what you said there is very true, that the emphasis was really on City to win, because a draw for us was still 5 ahead. We still got the gap. And I think a draw for us, and we were close, obviously 10 minutes away from getting that, and we would have been sat here now going, that's a good result for us, but obviously we didn't come away with that. So I can see why maybe we sat off a bit, but when you've got two, and I said this on the previous show, when you've got two players in Elatoon and Russo out wide, and you've got the fullbacks like City have got in Bronze and Stokes, and you've got Hemp and Park, who are I think they're just a league above when you're looking at wingers in the league. We didn't help ourselves in terms of personnel. We didn't match up in the way that if you're going to play a low block, and don't get me wrong, it worked to an extent because City only scored 1, but let's not be real. We weren't really in that game. I think we only had 2 or 3 chances. I don't actually think Roebuck had to make it. I think she probably made I think Elatoon had a shot, 60, 70 minutes, and I think Roebuck maybe could have caught that, but obviously pushed it a little bit wide, and that's the only real chance I can remember us having. So, yeah, it was a tough game to watch from a United point of view, but I think it's just more frustrating for us as United fans, because I think I said in the previous show as well, that's 6 games now we've conceded in the last 10 minutes, and it's costed us so many points this season. And, if we, like I just said, if we see that out 10 minutes, we're sat here and it's a different show, and we're looking at Champions League and it's really on now. Whereas now we've only got a 2-point gap. We've still got Chelsea away to come on the last day. We've still got some tough fixtures in there as well. It's wide open again. That's what that game did yesterday. It's just completely open. Even Spurs, that's a good result for them, really, because it's really opened it up for them as well.
Yeah. I thoroughly agree. I think I went into that game thinking, I did actually see us as favourites, not clear favourites. I never thought we were going to roll City over, but I did go in there thinking, I think for the first time ever, we was like up there on merit, I guess, and we had that momentum going in there. We was on form. We showed what we could do against Arsenal in the last couple of games that we played them. So I wasn't particularly scared about City, and I kind of thought that if we were just a bit more courageous, we could have potentially turned City over a little bit and really put a top 3 challenge there. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and we did seem to approach it quite cautiously. And I know other fans who's been on the channel and this, that, and the other, they would have probably thought there was no need to go cautious, player for player. We could have potentially battled, but it just didn't work out that way. Rodney, just going into the game, what were your thoughts? Was you kind of thinking this could be Manchester United's time?
A derbies are always difficult to call. I look at these games and you can never really predict. The form said yes, but the form can always say yes for City and it not go in their favour, and for United to play well. Historically, United have played well. This game, it just didn't look like that on the pitch. Before it, you might have felt positive in terms of what went before, but then from a fan's point of view, you're always hopeful. From a player's point of view, you can only deal with what you meet on the day. And I go back to what Conor was saying about the playing a low block, setting up for a point. Now, I don't know if that's what the manager wanted to do, but if you're going to set up for a low block, you're going to always bring on that kind of intensity from City. City, it was like a training game for City. Yeah. That, in all honesty, I know that we were expecting kind of fireworks and all to kick off in the middle and there'd be a tackle going in and all. It was total control from City.
Why do you think there wasn't any fireworks, Rodney? Because it should be. I mean, there's so much on the line. I actually went into the game doing a show saying, "Is this the most important Man United derby, Man United women derby ever? Because I thought it potentially could be.
Well, you can look at it a number of ways. One, you could say that because of the position that Man United were in terms of the league, like being in the top three, if they're going with a defensive mindset in terms of we only need a point, they're playing safe. There's no edge to anything. There's no kind of, winner takes all. There's no gamble. City had a game plan and they played to it. United did not seem to disrupt their plan. There was nothing about Man United's play that disrupted their plan. So in terms of before the game, you could say hopeful, but because it's a derby, you can't put all your money on it. It's not like you're going to say, oh, we're going to play Leicester and we're banking on 3 points. It's the derby is totally different because on any given day, it could be an Elatoon wonder goal or it could be a, Galton. You're expecting some magic. It didn't happen. City played. I mean, the comments about Hemp and Park. I mean, the actual development of Park since last season is phenomenal. It's like two different players. So for Manchester City, they're great. They look great. Manchester United still in the mix. Not to be too unhappy with the result because they're still there, but it makes it difficult.
Yeah, I just want to follow on from the back of something you said there about why there were no fireworks. I don't think City allowed it. I think City were frustrating us, as you could see in that. I think, again, when we spoke about this yesterday as well, and I think City what they did yesterday was something I want to see a United side do more in terms of, I'm going to call it the dark arts of football sometime. Every time we did string 2 or 3 passes together, somebody would bring our player down. We were never allowed to build up enough play together, whereas we just allowed City just to play it around the midfield and play it between the fullbacks, and there was we never could get any kind of control in the game. And I think, going back to the point about why, I think that's why, because we were just getting... I'm actually surprised later in the game that somebody didn't kick off. And I almost wanted somebody to show a bit of, you're 1-0 down, obviously, at that point. Let's show some fight now. Let's really go through. Because we had nothing to lose. Once you're 1-0 down, you may as well throw the kitchen sink in it, because a loss to us, whether you lose 1 or 2-0, it's irrelevant. We may as well have gone for it. But I just think, I hate praising City, but I think what they did so well is they just didn't allow us to play like that. They didn't allow us to have the fireworks because, like I said, they did everything that I want a United side to do. There was a couple of occasions where I think after Elatoon had that chance, I think we chipped it back into the box, it pushed away, the United away and got up. We were like, oh, here we go, come on, let's get into it. And I'm pretty sure it was Greenwood or it might have been Stoke. Somebody went down. And I thought, I know what you're doing. Take the sting right out of the game, bring the atmosphere right back down again. And it's what you do to win. And ultimately, you can only commend that. It's a good thing to have, and that's why City are such a good team and a hard team to beat.
I think it's worth mentioning as well, Martha Thomas had a really good chance in the game as well towards the end, and Ellie just come right out, and we missed her doing that. Just to have her back in the squad. She's so confident, and in those sort of one-on-one situations, she will sort of put herself on the line and do that, and it was unbelievable. I mean, that was a big moment in the game as well. That you're watching it and everything just slows down, and you're watching it thinking, "Oh my God, she's gonna score!" And the last minutes of the game, and it's not what you want to see. And then you're like, you're celebrating it as if it's a goal because it's just such a big moment in the game.
Emma, you mentioned at the start of the show about City playing like the City way or something like that. How would you describe the way Gareth Taylor plays? And I know it's hard because you haven't really seen a settled team yet because of all the injuries and that kind of stuff. But we as a Man United fan base, we talk a lot about our new style of play under Mark Skinner. It's called Skinner ball. And me and Conor love to go into detail on that. We do try and dissect it quite a lot. Just how would you kind of describe the way Gareth Taylor plays?
Well, I think it's pretty similar to the men in the fact that we like to play out from the back. We like to build up the play through possession and looking for them pockets and trying to sort of hit on the counter kind of thing. And we're quite happy to have a lot of the ball. We're quite confident playing out from the back, but we've been caught out as well. And again that's because of mistakes at the back and other oppositions being able to sort of counter on that and capitalize because we've not been very strong there. And we've had players in and out. We've lost Steph. We've had Ruby Mace in there, who's played really well. We've had Jill Scott in there, beginning, we were that thin on the back. We've had everyone giving it a go. So, teams have been able to capitalise on that, but we've been able to sort of build a bit of strength, build confidence, and it's really, it seems like it's coming together. The understanding, the communication. Alana Kennedy was chosen over Ruby Mace. I'm sure it was just down to her experience, just having her in the back line. We'd not seen her play for a while, but she did a great job. She did what she needed to do. And I think Alex Greenwood has been incredible. I really do think she stood out this season for us. She's come in. I think she's underrated. I don't think she gets half as much credit as what she deserves for what she's done. She's a true leader as well. Communication is spot on. And, just to see, players like that stepping up when they're needed as well is really pleasing. And we've seen a lot of that. We've had players coming in, covering positions where, we've had injuries and really doing a job for us. So, it has been a team effort and everyone has played their part this season. But in terms of, that style of play, the possession-based football is what we like. We like to have the ball. You can see that in our possession stats. Again, I think we average sort of over 70% or something in the United game. So that's pretty much typical of a City game. We're creative down the flanks and, we like to whip those balls in. But it's just the sort of the clinical finish in front of goal, which I think we discussed on the podcast. I think that was going to be the difference. We had the opportunities, but again, there weren't many of them on target, which has been typical of our season so far. So, yeah, it has been a bit frustrating, for all the creativeness that we do have, that the finishing hasn't been all that great. But I think when it counted, when it mattered, we were able to do something, and that's all that matters, to get the result.
I can see Rodney wants to come in on that.
I do, because two things come to mind for me. One, Emma saying that they want to play out from the back. Everyone knows the way Man City wants to play. This is why I couldn't quite understand why it was a defensive approach. Steph Houghton injured, another centre back playing alongside Greenwood. No intensity to press high and unsettle a new centre back pairing.
And I think,
and I just, for me, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it was a gimme.
The difference as well, we were using that long ball over the top, and we were having a bit of joy with that as well. And that's the distribution from the back. We've got that sort of variety. Alex Greenwood was
I want to laugh, Emma. I do. I know, but you're saying you were using. You know what it is? The game was on the same day as the Super Bowl. You stop the quarterback. You stop the quarterback. Yeah, you don't allow the quarterback time to look up and pick up pass. There was not all of the United backbench, the staff, the coaching staff know Alex Greenwood's qualities. She can play left back. She can play midfield, centre back. Don't allow her time on the ball. She was looking up and she was rolling balls on the floor 20, 30 yards into the feet of Man City players. And I was thinking, wow, really? In a derby? So that's why I started off by saying it was like a training game for Man City.
But did you see when United did go to play out from the back, we pressed. We had two players, literally. And Jess was pretty much the first one, to try and press, to try and put everyone under pressure. And it turned into a bit of a game of chess. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, when you say it did look like a training exercise, I do kind of agree. And I know Mark spoke about those one-on-one situations. United have played very aggressive football all season, and they were anything but aggressive. I mean, it was quite muted, the performance, I thought, from United. They didn't really impose themselves on the game at all. They need to be a bit more sharper. And we really looked on top of our game, which is probably the best we've probably seen from City all season, to be honest. Even in those games against Arsenal, I thought we were much better against you guys.
Yeah, I think as well, like you just said there about City's pressing, I think that was part of it's something we need to be able to deal with, because we can't just expect every team to sit off us and give us respect. But that's something we just could not adapt in the game to that. And I don't know what was said at half time, but I said it to the people around me that we're going to have to come out at half time and go, like, in the second half and go, right, let's change it. Let's impose our stamp on the game. And literally from kickoff, it went back to Maria or Diane, and they kicked it out, and it was a City throw-in straight away, 10 seconds in. Now, mentally, as a United player, you think, oh, God, now here we go. We're back defending on our goal line again, straight from kickoff. So we never, ever got back into the game. Like I said, the half-time was the chance, and straight away we were on the back foot from the off. And because City pressed so well, you pressed in 3s and 4s, we could never, ever get out. And I think it knocked the confidence of Ladd and Zellum, because they didn't want the ball. That neither of them were willing to drop back and go, I'll pick the ball up and let's progress through midfield. Neither of them wanted it, because I think they knew as soon as they got it, Hemp or Park, White, somebody was going to be on them in a flat. And it's just that we never doubt. And like I said, going forward, we're going to need to be able to learn with and cope with that, because not every team are going to allow us time on the ball. So if we're going to go to City again, obviously we play each other again in 2 weeks' time, we need to be able to know how to beat the press, because if we can't do that,
it's a different game.
Exactly, and I think as well, Skinner's tactic, especially for the game, maybe was obviously the long ball, which semi-working in the first half. We had a little bit of joy, win a couple of free kicks, but we didn't do much with it. In the second half, because the wind was so heavy that way, the long balls were going up in the air, and they were coming straight back anyway, because the wind was blowing it straight back, and it forced us to play on the ground. And because we couldn't beat the press, that's why we got dominated so much in the second half, because we had to play on the floor, and we couldn't. We could not keep the. I said I challenge anyone to find me a clip of where we had 6 or 7 passes together. I genuinely don't think we had more than that in a game.
We did look stuck, because we don't usually play these long balls anymore. We do like to play short, sharp passing, and that's what a lot of the fan base doesn't like, because a lot of the short, sharp passing doesn't always get us up the pitch as quickly as fans would like to get us up the pitch. And we play out wide, but we don't actually run down the touchline. We like to come back in field again. All these things that we're used to seeing over the past season so far, we're never done against City. And I think that's credit to City. The reason why we couldn't do that is because of your pressing, and we couldn't play our normal game because we're just not good enough at that style of play just yet against quality players. So obviously we went long, and it just wasn't working for us. Emma, I'm guessing the fan base is back behind Gareth Taylor now that we've got some.
Yeah, we're fickle like that. We're fickle.
I mean, we're the same. We go week by week, at least I go month by month.
Yeah, I mean,
not just based on that game, by the way, Emma. I'm on about the season now. He looks like he's firmly back in that top 3 race again now.
Yeah, I think it was a really important win. I think it there's obviously still a long way to go in this season yet for City. But in terms of, keeping ourselves in it, it certainly helped. I think, had we have lost, even if we'd have got a draw, I think we'd have made it really tough for ourselves to be in the mix for those Champions League places. But, you don't want to rely on the other teams around you, but there's sort of some results that have gone in our favour as well that sort of do keep us sort of in and around those sort of Champions League places. And it is a real must for next season. We've had so much disappointment in recent seasons that, we just, I know it's an ambition of the club to do well in Europe. And we've really got to give ourselves the best opportunity of doing that in terms of, battling now and getting good results now for the rest of the season. Every game feels like a must win here on out, really.
Go on, Rodney.
No, I mean, I kind of thinking generally about the season that City have had in comparison to Manchester United. And, before the game, Man United obviously were on the up and thinking quite clearly about top 3 in Champions League. City definitely needed this win desperately. I wouldn't say needed it more, but it does make it slightly more difficult going forward now, considering all of the other results. And the point also that Conor made about not being able to play out from the back, the conditions were difficult for everyone. Just one of those things, they come around. But I think Man United's success so far this season has been primarily about the right back, left back owner Blundell. They pushed really high in games, and they've allowed Zellum time in the middle of the park and the other midfield players to kind of take their time, look up and pick passes. You've seen owner in the penalty box helping out with attacks. You've seen Blundell on the other side whipping in crosses. At no point in the game did they ever get the chance to develop that kind of style of play, which would have kind of helped out in terms of like not being able to kick long, you know. So it wasn't so much that City kind of controlled the middle of the game or the tempo, is that they knew ideally what United were doing. Their left and right backs are key. Stop them, or not even so much stop them, just keep them busy. Keep them busy, and that in itself then makes it much more difficult for United to build momentum in the middle of the park. Because, you know, I want to comment on the goal. The goal is fantastic. You know, you got to say, it's one of those that if you're going to lose, it's got to be a worldie, because the game looks like it could have gone either way. But it's before she gets the ball, she shrugs off Zellum. You know, if you're playing in centre midfield, you can't lose the ball there. You can't. You know, whatever you have to do, like was said, not smart enough in giving away a foul. Give away a free kick there. Take a yellow.
That's what you were saying, Conor. I think was it on Monday's show or privately, you were saying that, you know, we've got to sometimes just take the foul. You know?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I think Zellum got caught a little bit, because Zellum went to clear it, and if you watch the replay back, she shouts, "That's mine," and Brun knocks it past her, and then she's like, "Oh God!" She's got to quickly turn around and adjust. But that's then and there where it goes back to what I said earlier: the dark arts of football. You've got to take her down, take the free kick, you know, because you cannot allow. But once all on Zellum, because like I said, once she shrugs Zellum off, there's 2 or 3 seconds. One of the centre backs come running out at it, block the shot. Someone go to her. We allowed her just to. I think we probably, the defenders probably thought, oh, you can shoot from there. It's not going to go in, because it's going to take something special to beat Mary up from there. And you saw obviously the result that happened. So you've got to close that down. Either bring her down and, you know, take the free kick, get a yellow card, whatever, or one of the centre backs or on her, somebody charge her down to block that.
I'm still laughing at Emma saying that the fans are fickle. You should hear some of the United supporters. You know, if we make a substitute in the 80th minute when they want it in the 70th minute, skid her out. If he comes up with a word.
I love this beautiful, beautiful game, guys.
I know he comes up with the word comfortable in an interview, and because he used that word comfortable in an interview, we don't want him as manager. He's not good enough. He's not Man United material. So I feel it, Emma. I really do. We spoke a little bit about the history of not the history, but like the season so far. Emma, where do you see the season going then there? Because it's really getting down to not the home straight just yet, but you know, the FA Cup's not too far away.
Business end.
The business end there. I think United have done really well to put ourselves in a position where we're still in the cup, and top 3 is a possibility. I don't know if we're favourites anymore, but I think we've done really well to get to this stage. How do you feel City's done?
What I will say just before I comment on that is that I think we've seen that the significance of these Manchester derbies now is growing, and I think that's credit to United as well, and how they've, you know, upped their game in terms of bridging that gap. You know, it's not a top 3, it's not a top 2 anymore. You know, we're talking top 6s. You know, the league this season has become so much more competitive, and that's all anybody wants, is, you know, for it to be exciting. You know, the women's game is a product at the end of the day, and I do think that, you know, with obviously all the broadcast deals and the rights and the sponsorships and all the money that's in the game at the minute is, you know, it's fantastic. And I think for the neutral fan, it was a really good spectacle. You know, it was great to see the academy sold out. You know, great to see a good crowd there as well. And yeah, I think the season itself for City, I think we have turned a bit of a corner. I think, you know, especially reaching the Conti Cup final, I think it's great that we're in a cup final. It's great that we've got domestic trophy to compete for. Obviously, big FA Cup in a couple of weeks against United. You know, looking forward to that. In terms of top 3 finish, I think it's achievable. I do believe that we're in it. definitely. But it's like I said to you, it's all about from here on in now getting the results, keeping the consistency, and just sort of controlling what we can do, and trying not to worry about what everybody else is doing. If we can just keep our results, keep getting those 3-point games and making sure we're there, that's all we need to be, and just believe in ourselves and what we can do. And I think we've shown that in recent games as well. We've had it tough. Chelsea, I think, the last 20 minutes or so, we could have easily got an equaliser and got something out of that game. And just for whatever reason, we couldn't. The Arsenal game was, a really good game. United, with like we said, we were going in there as underdogs, and, to get a result at the end of the day, I think was fantastic for us. So, we're putting some really good performances together as well. There's plenty of positives. We've had a lot of youth come into the squad as well that have shown their worth, which is, again, something fantastic. So, yeah, loads of positives, and we can get the results. We just got to keep battling and fighting hard to get those results. So, I'm sure we can.
Would you take this scenario, Emma? Last game of the season, Man United are at Kings Meadow. If we win, we get Champions League. But if we draw or lose, you get Champions League. Would you like to be in that situation where it's in United's hands, but we need to win that final game against Chelsea? I don't know if I would.
Yeah, Jon, I don't think I've got time to even think about this. I'm going to have to sleep on it. That's a tough one. To be honest, I will always want to do it by our own accord, you know what I mean? But if that's what it comes down to, Jon, you know what I mean?
I would love it.
Yeah. If that's what we've got if you've got to help us out a little bit, I'll have to take it. We'll try and do you a favour down the line.
Go on, Rodney. What's your thoughts on that? Because as United fans, we've been looking at every combination going, and I know that's still miles down the line yet. But
that's a really horrible combination, really, to put forward to Emma. She's probably thinking, "I hate you."
I'm not that I've been sleeping anyway, but I'm definitely not going to sleep tonight now.
Yeah, I mean, that scenario does make it interesting. It does make it interesting, and it probably add the kind of drama that the league needs in terms of PR, in terms of kind of pulling in the neutral fan, increased chatter on social media, newsprint, etc. So yeah, I mean, if that kind of scenario did unfold, it would help the league. It would help promote the game in that sense. But come on, football fans, they don't want it to go down to the last. They want a procession. they want 6 weeks of gloating before the season's over, and they go, yeah, look at us, we are so good. Look at you. Ooh. No last day dramas required. So that, for me, I'd rather have things sorted out before then, and then you can just relax.
I don't know. I think he's just so tired. I think Arsenal, Chelsea. I think, Conner, did you mention that maybe Chelsea's got it wrapped up by then? Maybe. And I know that's, you don't know, do you? But there's a lot that could be riding on this last game of the season. I don't think Birmingham, Leicester will be now. I think Leicester's kind of done the job there. But top four, and obviously Tottenham's still going to play the top 3 teams, I believe. So you'd like to see this out of the 2 Manchester clubs. But Conner, would you take that scenario? It's in our hands, but we have to win last game of the season.
No chance. Absolutely no chance. I don't want to be going away at Chelsea needing a win. It was bad enough in the.
Do that on the last day of the season. We did that against Arsenal a couple of seasons ago, and that was tough.
I mean, the absolute scenes if it happened, but I mean, I don't think my heart rate would take away at Chelsea again. I mean, the Conte game was bad enough for stress levels, but I think it's. The thing is, you can't rule this out. At one point, you'd be looking at, last week or so, you'd be looking at Reading. And to be fair, if they win their game in hand, they go level with us anyway. And then they go and get absolutely smacked by Brighton. So, a team that was on a downward spiral. And you think, this league this season is so all over the place. There's no game. I was looking at it earlier. You're looking at City's fixtures, and you'd probably say that they've got the more favourable running out of us, mainly just because we've got Chelsea. And obviously, City have got those top 2 out of the way. And you look at City's games, a lot of their games, obviously at home, home to Reading, Birmingham, Leicester, Brighton, so on. You'd expect them to win those. Yeah. Whereas you look at some of ours, but again, like you said, no games are given. You wouldn't have thought, Reading would have picked up some of the wins. You wouldn't have thought Birmingham would have beaten Arsenal. This season is so all over the place that I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to the last day. And I'm going to throw this out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 3 teams going for it, not 2. I don't think Spurs would be there. I just wouldn't be surprised if Reading or somebody else snuck in. It might be Spurs. I just think Spurs have got Chelsea twice. They've got Arsenal. They've got City. I think they'll drop away when they start playing those games. But, you could see 3 teams on the last day of the season going for it. And I think City's last game is Reading, isn't it? Reading away. So you could see last day of the season, City, Reading, potentially going for it, and United, Chelsea, all being, fighting for the spot.
Everyone's getting more nightmares.
Well, I was just going to say, we've learnt the hard way this season. Like you said, no result is a given. You can't underestimate your oppositions, and I think we've all had a piece of that this season. Every club has. So, yeah, it certainly makes for a good product if you're looking at it overall for the women's game, but not for the fans. Not for the fans.
Rodney, Emma used the word the product there, the football product, and I know you kind of mentioned it there. You haven't been on the channel for a while. How do you think this season's going with Sky TV being involved and the fan base is growing, more interaction on Twitter? How have you enjoyed this season?
To be honest, I paid very little attention to the Sky stuff. I have to be honest. There doesn't seem to be that much change. And I think the change in itself is going to be much more. It's going to be monumental, but it's going to take something which will be more teams. It's not just about the platform showing the games. It's not just about them saying, "Oh, we're talking to fans." It's got to be structural. So at the moment, all we've seen in terms of the season so far from Sky is that they've taken over from where BT were, and they're still holding it. But nothing really else has developed. I mean, there are a few more programs to watch, but in terms of what that's it. That's it. Well, and that's me being really critical.
What I noticed at the derby, and I don't know about you guys, was obviously there was a lot more media there that wouldn't necessarily be there if it was just an average sort of game. I think because of obviously the weight of obviously what the result meant for either team, I think there was more eyes on it. There were media broadcasters there that I'd never even seen, and I'm not just talking about Sky BT. I'm just talking about the random people that just rock up every now and again that you've never even heard of.
Like me.
Yeah.
You can't even book into the Holiday Inn anymore. You can't book into the Holiday Inn.
But yeah, and it's good, but make a bit more effort. Don't just turn up to one game every once in a blue moon. Be consistent. Watch some other games, a couple of other games. It really annoys me that. Yeah,
that's what we say to kind of we try and get so many people into LSV, and we try and go to other games where if Man United aren't playing, we never choose another club before Man United, of course. But if we've got a Saturday or a Sunday off when United aren't playing, we'll go to a game of any tier. It's that's what we're starting to do, and I guess that's kind of what Emma and Rodney are saying here as well. We just need to get bums on seats and grow it that way as well, don't we?
Yeah, shameless plug here as well. I'm going to be on commission from the club soon. I've managed to convert 10 people from the men's game to get women's season tickets now. So that's 10 new people into the ground. Good. I'm still working on it. So I think that's the main thing. I think as people have known, for me personally, just because I've only started going this season, obviously I've been at pretty much every game since. I say to everyone, and as soon as people go, most people will go again, and they'll go because you do just get hooked straight away. And I think going back to what you're saying there, the Sky and BBC, there is more they can do with it. I think at the moment, just because it's probably year one in their project, what the plans are for future years, I don't know. They'll probably look at viewing numbers, and it'll be a commercial decision anyway. They'll look at it, and maybe if it does do well, which I think it has done. I think some of the viewing figures for certain games, which were always going to do well, have done well. but it's ultimately translating that into people in stadiums, because attendances are still, I think, similar to what pre-COVID were. They've not moved too much. So it's just about getting those people into grounds. But it is getting there. It's just going to take time, I think.
Yeah.
I think just generally with the broader economic kind of battles that the nation will face in the coming months because of the economy, you know, people are going to have to make real hard choices about what they do with their money, you know. And if they've got, like you say, you've converted 10 people from the men's team to buy a season ticket, you know, those kind of factors, people are going to have to decide who do they go and watch on in real term monetary terms, you know. But you know, even with, like, you know, the FA Cup, back on the BBC, I think it is Man United versus City. I think they're showing it. I think they advertised it again, said they're back on, which is great, and I think it's brilliant that it's on. I mean, that's the one thing I have a gripe about in terms of the Sky deal, is because with the BBC they had access to games before, you know, and they did nothing. They put it on BBC iPlayer. They've got BBC 4, no programs before 9 o'clock. They got BBC 3, nothing. Do you know what I mean? It was there. It was just a nice nest for them to kind of push in the way of people and say, look at this. And they had to wait for Sky to come along and go, oh, we've got it. And then now they're doing stuff. And, you know, for me, I'm happy that there's more exposure. I think it's great. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you already had your hands on this product and you didn't do enough, you know. So it's the likes of this channel and other, you know, fan supported channels that are doing things, that are having an ongoing conversation about what should happen and where the game's going and for me, I do kind of get a little bit upset. I'm trying not to swear, John. Yeah, I'm trying really hard.
Keep it clean, Rodney.
Keeping it clean. You know, but for me, I just think it's really it's so simple to put on TV. You know, when there's a 10-year-old girl that is unable to go and watch football because they've got an illness, or their family don't have the same financial clout, and it can be on BBC. You know, they've got at least, you know, they've got a TV so they can watch the game, and then they can, you know, because that's how it was for me watching football as a child. My parents didn't have enough money to take me to a game. It was watching football on TV, watching the FA Cup on BBC One. It was those simple things, you know, and that for me. Not everyone is flush with cash. Some people have real financial difficulties to face with, but they love sport. Yeah. You know, sorry, I went off on one. Apologies.
Oh no, I think that's a great point, and it's that's a showing yourself there, isn't it? Maybe I can. I'll invite you in for a Thursday in March, Rodney, and we can elaborate a bit more. But no, it's a valid point that we can't cover, and it is. It's a good point. Yeah. Talking about putting the game in people's faces, we're at Old Trafford next month. Rodney, just sticking with yourself there. As fans, we haven't been at Old Trafford yet to watch our women's team. Obviously, the last one was behind closed doors. LJ scored there. Was it Kristen Press as well? I think. Was it Kristen Press and LJ scored 2-0? Rings a bell.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was. Yeah, just your thoughts on that. Obviously, it's against Everton. There hasn't been much publishing about it. Is that the right word? Publicized.
Yeah, publicity.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I'll get there. Yeah, there hasn't been too much. I think it's gathering a bit of momentum now. But just what's your whole thoughts on playing at Old Trafford and what we could do better? Is it even worth it? Because these fans aren't going to come across to LSV, are they? I think they would have gone by now. Why did they do it? There's a whole debate, isn't it? But just what's your thoughts on that one, Nick?
It's probably a couple of seasons too late. I think Manchester United's hand has been forced because of Sky. All of the other teams have played a game. Spurs played at White Hart Lane. You know, Chelsea obviously have their own kind of issues going on with the Champions League. Arsenal did theirs. I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's not to get too hyped up about it. I think the club can do a little bit more in terms of publicising it themselves, because it's Old Trafford, so they can do their bit and then worry about what the broadcasters do elsewhere.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of the Old Trafford game, it's great for the player, particularly the players that United fans like Diane, when you hear her talking about what it's going to be like walking out at Old Trafford and that kind of thing. That to me is what it's about. But I think if I'm going to spin a negative on this, and I don't particularly want to, but I have to. I think you need to build from the ground up. I've stressed this since the first game I've been to. It needs to be about packing out, for United, it needs to be about packing out LSV first before you start looking at Old Trafford. Let's get 12,000 regularly at LSV. Let's start, getting the season tickets up there before we start. Because that Old Trafford game, I don't even think they've sold 25% yet. And you're looking at it thinking, that's only just over a month away, and you've still got 80% of tickets are still on sale. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it will sell up to 20, 30,000 maybe by the time that comes around. And, a lot of those are going to be giveaways and things like that they do. But how many of those people are going to come back? I think that's the thing that you're looking at, isn't it? That's what they want this for. Like I said, it's great for the players, and I am happy for players, like I said, like Diane, like these players that will get to go out at Old Trafford, because that's what you want to see. You want to see them living their dream, getting to play. Who doesn't want that as a United fan, walking out at Old Trafford? So for them, I'm really happy for them, but I just worry that, not worry as such, but I just hope that it's because if let's say the worst happens and we lose, that's not going to be a good advert for it. And I think that's probably why they've chosen Everton, because because it's a game that we should be winning.
I agree. We could have quite easily. Well, say quite easily. What happens if we could have got more fans in the stadium if it was City, Arsenal, Chelsea? But that scares me, because there's a good chance that we might have lost that game, and at least we're favourites against Everton, and especially the way Everton are playing at the moment as well. So, you never know. That could have been on the mind. They want to see United go there and win a game, don't they? I am conscious of time, Conor. I know you've got another show to go to in just a few minutes' time, but just before we wrap up, Emma, FA Cup prediction. Any scoreline that you want to give?
It's going to be a totally different game, like I said before. I expect that City will win, and we will win 3-1.
Oh, I don't want that.
Sorry.
Come on, Rodney, bring it back.
On this podcast again, so might go.
Oh dear me. Oh God. Rodney, help me out.
Honestly, I don't even know what to say. I wasn't expecting that kind of such a confident punch that was Emma.
At least Sports Village as well. I know I'm back.
It's a bit brutal. Sorry. Caroline Weir, a nice little chip, I guess.
I would like to say that the scoreline is reversed in terms of this recent game and of a similar vintage strike to decide. Just to kind of, go, here's one in your eye.
Connor, we can save our predictions for near the time, Connor. Rodney, if someone wants to follow you on Twitter or watch your podcast, how can they go about doing that?
They can follow me. It's at On and Off the Pitch. That's the podcast. And from the Twitter handle, you'll find me sometimes talking about women's football and other things. And from there, it's pretty straightforward.
It's well worth a watch. And if I don't get a chance to watch it right away, I will watch it. And you'll probably know that I'll click a like or a thumbs up every now and again. So I'm still around, even though I'm not.
Listen, as fans of football, we're all trying to do our bit. And that's why everyone's doing things, because we're so busy. Otherwise, we'd just be, consumers.
Very good. Emma, your podcast?
Yeah, it's a Man City Women podcast, and you can find us at MCWFancast, and it's on wherever you listen to your audio podcast. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's the best. The two below is the best two that you can listen to. If it's not all for United WFC, go on to one of these two, because I listen to them, and it's the only two that I listen to. I don't listen to any others. So,
that's very kind.
No, you know that is true. So, Connor, enjoy your show shortly, and thank you to everybody in the comments, and we shall catch you all again soon. Thank you, guys.